when I came to Hollywood to work,
It's just a dream.
I was like, what? I was like, all these people are in this movie?
Once the famous painter Pablo Picasso said, "Every child is an artist." The problem is how to remain an artist as we grow up. Our guest started his career in his early teens in the Spanish sitcom Solo en America, and now he has in his resume more than 20 credits, including films and TV shows. Through the years, we have seen a lot of child actors in Hollywood, but as they grow up, their career starts to fade until a lot of them disappear at all from the screens. And as Picasso had said, the problem is how to remain an artist as we grow up. Let's welcome Jorge Díaz to know how he did it. Bienvenido, Jorge.
Gracias. I love that quote so much.
Nice.
That's like one of my favorite quotes.
So,
Yes.
tell us, how did you start your acting when you just were a teen?
Well, this journey started maybe like a year and a half before Solo en America, which is a Telemundo sitcom, which Telemundo just had a handful of sitcoms, but I started doing plays in junior high, just like I fell in love with it because one of my friend's dads, who I love the family so much, he was a director of television. He was the only person who had a parent in my elementary school that was in Hollywood or in the industry at all, and he used to take us to tapings. So it was at a taping of Married with Children. I was like little. I was like in like 5th grade. I fell in love with it. I was just like, I'm like, one day I got to be in front of the camera. And he took us in the back and we met the whole cast. And I literally became obsessed with it. And I started sneaking onto like Paramount Studios, Universal Studios. And before 9/11, you could just sneak on. And Solo en America was the very first Spanish audition I ever had. I was supposed to be a guest star in it. And they brought me back for it. And then throughout my early high school days, I was working on it, like recurring for 2 years. And right after that, I was always balancing school and my acting, what became my passion, really. And so I quit my senior year just to graduate. And then I got back into it just for a year. And that's when I booked The Brothers Garcia and Boston Public, which were popular shows at the time. And I was supposed to be a guest star, and they brought me back as well for each one. And I quit literally for like 5-6 years, and then went off to college, did a full-time internship in New York, and moved back about another 5-6 years ago, and just like got back into it. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the story.
Right, so you are a bilingual actor.
Correct.
So,
Correcto.
I mean, you started in Spanish before, but
Sí.
so besides the language thing, is there any difference working or playing a role in Spanish versus in English?
Well, the way I prepare for a role is not too different for a character, for instance. But for me, like, Spanish was my first language. I mean, mis papás son de Mexico. I'm like the first person to graduate from high school, let alone college. Pero like my brothers, my older brothers, they used to speak to me in English. I'm the baby of the family.
Okay.
So for me, I've always had the most trouble with it. And I have to learn tricks because I do so many Spanish commercials, and some of them have like long monologues, and se me traba la lengua, like my tongue gets like all twisted sometimes with certain words. So I put a pencil in between my teeth and digo las palabras así, y luego ya se me salen mejor. Pero it's been a challenge when there's certain words I don't usually use on a daily basis when talking to my parents in Spanish, for instance. But other than that, it's pretty much the same.
You speak Spanish
fluently. I try to speak it every day because thank God my parents are here in Los Angeles. So then on the phone, we're always like, she's like, mijo, vas a llegar a lavar ropa o qué vas a hacer? So, but other than my basic language, and I try to listen to the radio in Spanish and watch television in Spanish, but other than the basic language, there's words I don't use every single day. Like my brother knows all like the slang and modismos que usan in Mexico, and for instance, like all the stuff all the colloquial terms that they use in Mexico, where I don't know the slang, you know?
Okay.
So for improvisation, it's a lot more difficult for me in Spanish than it is in English.
Okay.
And a lot of my roles have called on to improvise a lot. So I would have to really prepare for Spanish improvisation in regards to English. English, it just comes naturally.
It's easier.
It's easier, exactly.
So why do you think it's important that Hollywood has more Hispanic actors working in the industry?
I think it's important. I mean, not only Hispanic actors, but people of all nationalities, especially women as well, just because, I mean, we forget how powerful a medium film and television is. And it's constantly teaching us what social norms are, like what's normal in society. And it's supposed to reflect reality. And if we're supposed to reflect reality, what's going on in America, and these are American shows, then we should have people of all color, all stories being told. And I think it's been slowly changing, but now I feel, I mean, it's going to be, I think it's going slightly uphill, you know what I mean? But if I look at, even when I was little acting, the roles have changed now. I see way more like Hispanics as lawyers, as I see it in the change even in Spanish commercials. I think more so the Spanish commercials, you see a variety of all types of people. You have the nerd, the artsy guy, you know, you have all that. Whereas in English, there's still so many stereotypical roles, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you think it's like if you want to compare like the commercials or auditions you go in Spanish versus in English, do you go more into the Hispanics, into more the English? I
audition more for, I would say, it's half and half. 50% are Spanish commercials. The ones I book, the ones I actually work are the majority. I would say like 60, 70% are Spanish commercials. And then the other 30, 40% is English. But what's cool is that in English, I go in as ethnically ambiguous guy. You know what I mean? Like they're like, oh, he could be like Italian or Hispanic, whatever. But in commercials, there's a variety of roles I think for Hispanic, because they don't, in commercials you don't show like the Hispanic guy being like the gardener or like or you know what I mean, or the housekeeper, whereas in commercials I think it's really transcended a lot of the stereotypes that we see still in film and television.
As the great actor and acting professor Sanford Meisner said, find in yourself those human things which are universal. Acting is not about being someone different. It's finding the similarity in what's apparently different, then finding myself in there. Meryl Streep. Jorge Díaz has given his voice to the main character in the 2012 Emmy-nominated TV show Oh, Noah. Noah is a boy that was born in the US, but in his grandmother's neighborhood, no one speaks English. Let's talk about your experience working in this animated TV show or series.
So I'd always dreamt about doing voiceovers, even more so than acting, but I never knew how to get into it, right? And it kind of just it worked magically. I believe in that sometimes. When I always believe if you get a message 3 times, that means you're guided to that something's telling you something, right? Okay. And so I had never met people that done voiceovers, and in a period of 2 months, I met 3 people that do voiceovers, and that referred me to a workshop with Tony Gonzalez, who's one of the leading like kids voiceover coaches here. Okay. So I did a workshop with him. He told my manager he needs to be doing this. The week I do the workshop, my commercial agent, I get a voiceover audition for my commercial agent, and I'm like, that's so weird. I was like, and because the voiceover department needed more Spanish speakers, and they said they went to the commercial department like, hey, do you not have any more Spanish speakers? Like, oh, Jorge Díaz is really good. You should try him out. My very first audition was for this PBS interactive series called Noah Comprende at the time. Now it's called Oh Noah. And I auditioned for Noah, a bunch of characters, but I got casted. No one knows this. I got casted as the role of Señora Martinez, and I jokingly turned in the audition for it because I I told my agent, I'm like, yeah, I could do the grandma's voice. I could do this. I could do that. He's like, okay. So he's like, sure, why not? So I sent it in. I'm like, hola, es Noah, ven pa' acá. I did the voice, and I did like the little kid's voice too. I'm like, hey guys, I'm Noah. So then I got casted as that. But in the casting, when I finally recorded it, I left the studio, and 15 minutes later, my agent calls like, hey, how far are you? Can you come back? Because the young woman that they had casted for the role of Noah, I guess they decided when they're listening in from New York, all the PBS people, they decided that they didn't like her accent when she spoke Spanish, so they wanted to give me a try. And I went back and I did it, and I ended up doing all Noah, the main guy.
Nice.
So that's how it all worked out, man. So it's a beautiful, it's such a cute project to be part of, and I'm really proud of it, actually. Yeah.
What Hispanic actor's career had an influence in your job as an actor, or maybe someone that you admire?
You know what's so funny, and it's kind of sad in a way when I think about it, that in television there wasn't too many off the top of my head that really I could say I love this person. This is who I want my career to be like. In film, it was another thing. You had like Edward James Olmos and stuff like that, and Isai Morales, a number of actors, but some of my favorite actors were, and the ones I really identified with and identified with the characters that they played, were like Tom Hanks or even Johnny Depp, and they weren't Hispanic.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could say in television, I could say Desi Arnaz, but really, you know what I mean? That's 60 years ago, and I'm like, maybe I could see him as my dad, maybe a little bit. But the people that I actually have a lot of respect for and I admire right now, people's careers, is I like Michael Pena a lot.
Okay.
And I love his ability to do dramatic work and comedic work, and he's really good. And I mean, I was at a screening just 2 days ago of American Hustle.
Okay.
And he pops out. He's in American Hustle too.
Oh,
and I'm like, good for you, Michael. I was like, good for you, man. I'm like, he brings a lot of depth to like his dramatic work, and he's so funny. And I love, so him, I would say, as a Hispanic actor right now, I really love where his career is right now and where it's going. So yeah.
And that's interesting because it's almost your same.
Yeah,
I don't know how old is he or how old are you.
He's probably like, there's a 10-year difference, but there was no young guy I could look up to in television. I mean, can you think of anyone?
No.
I can't think of anyone, which is kind of sad to say, right?
Yeah.
I know.
That's true. Who was the guy from Chips?
Eric Estrada. Actually, no. We did a commercial together, which is so funny. I'll try to get a clip of it. It's really funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so in Philip Brown, your character Eddie Vargas was Gina Rodriguez's character best friend.
Yes.
And you had the opportunity to work with actors with great and very successful careers, like what you mentioned before.
Edward James Olmos,
Lou Diamond Phillips.
Yeah.
I mean, how was that experience to work with these great actors? And
it was awesome. I had no idea that they were even involved until literally like a week or two before we started shooting. Because I got the part. It's funny. I mean, which goes to show, like, it's really great to build great relationships. I was good friends with the director, who I met at Sundance at a party. I crashed. I wasn't even supposed to be at the party. I crashed the party, met him. We just built a relationship. We were good friends. He's like, and I was helping cast the part of Philly. Actually, I was a reader in the room.
This was before Sundance this year?
Yes, this is before. I didn't even know Edward James Olmos was involved. After, nothing there. Jenny Rivera, nobody. And they were actually casting originally, trying to look for actual rappers, female rappers.
Okay.
And I was the reader in the audition. And then a couple weeks later, he's like, yeah, I got a role for you, Jorge. Then I'm like, really? I'm like, you don't got to put me in the movie just because we're friends, man. I'm like, but then I find out, like, oh, Lou Diamond Phillips and Edward James Olmos and, Jenny Rivera. I was like, the singer? I was like, what? I was like, all these people are in this movie? So I was really intimidated by Edward at first. Because
you met him before this?
No, I had never met him. I met him the first time on set, and I actually was kind of nervous to go up to him. I thought he actually, to tell you the truth, I thought like he was really friendly with a lot of people, but he never really it wasn't until after we went to Sundance, he's like all love. That guy is like, he's like, mijo, he gives me a kiss on the cheek. Lou Diamond Phillips is like the sweetest person you'll ever meet. His whole family, his wife, like literally the type of person that you could bring home and he'll give a kiss and a hug to your grandma, to your mom, to everyone, because he's just like all love. Yeah. Okay. So it was good. It was an awesome experience. Yeah.
As a young man, I prayed for success. Now I just pray to be worthy of it. Brendan Fraser. The best quality of an actor is to be mercurial. That is, know how to adapt himself to the temperature of each moment. Vittorio Gassman. In the TV series Islos High, you play Polly, one of the main characters of the whole show. Is there any difference as an actor to develop a character in a film versus in TV?
You know what's interesting is that I have somewhat yet to experience that fully, because Islos High actually was, we were given, it was almost written like it's a giant independent movie.
Okay.
Like we were given like a 600-page script.
Oh, right.
With all 24 episodes, and I was literally going, oh my god, and it took me forever to read. I didn't even finish it, and then I went back to it. So it was almost like I was preparing for a film, really.
Okay.
So I saw like the whole arch of the character and where it was going and what happens at the end. Where with the other television I've worked, it's either been guest star or recurring. So there's been a change, but I think I just approach it. You have to approach it scene by scene.
Okay.
And really just know yourself in the character, and just bring that every time, no matter what situation gets thrown at you.
What do you prefer to do as an actor? Film or TV?
You know what? I love doing both. But when I had the opportunity to do a film, there's something about like the family and kind of not knowing what's gonna happen after, and it's really cool. Like I love both of it. I love both, but I would love to do more film. Right now, I would love to do more film, but if I would love to just act in every capacity, in every way.
So Islos High is a TV series where most of the characters are Hispanic.
Yeah.
How do you compare the presence of Hispanic characters in Hollywood scripts besides other minority groups, Asian or African American?
Well, what's great about Islos High is that it's actually written by and directed by like all the people behind the scenes and in front of the camera are all Latino. It's the very first all Latino series in English.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's the very first, and then so I don't know if this was just because it was all Latino, but they really created a very an open forum where if I had to say creatively, if I wanted to do something, I ran it past the director and the writer. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I had to like Jorge? And once that trust was built, it was like, go ahead, Jorge, and we'll do this. Especially a lot of the transmedia stuff. There's a lot of online content with the show that goes with the show.
Okay.
And they allowed a sense of freedom because we were creating something almost where you wouldn't find on a network series where there's creative people that get paid a lot of money and they have final say. Whereas here, it was almost like a family. It was almost like an independent movie. We're like, okay, let's do this. Whatever works best. All right, let's try this. Da-da-da. And it came out beautifully, and it found its audience. Thank God. We had no idea what was going to happen to it. And it became like a hit Hulu show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess you prefer to work in something like that. Like you can't put your input in whatever you're working.
I would love to, because just as an actor, you show up, they tell you, put on these clothes, blah, blah, blah. This is the words that are coming out of your mouth. This is this, da, da, da. And it leaves a certain area for creativity. But it's beautiful when there's a level of trust where they trust you as an actor and be like, hey, and if you have an idea or something and you want to throw that idea at people that are in the creative seats, it's beautiful when they allow that and they actually go, oh wow, yeah, we could totally try that, Jorge, or we could totally try that, Omar, whatever, it's all good. And it's beautiful when that relationship develops.
So in 2014 will be released in theaters the found footage Paranormal Activity, the Mark 1. A big one, huge. I mean, we all know about the huge commercial success of this saga, and you're playing Hector.
Yes.
So, how was your experience as an actor to work in a found footage, and what do you think this movie is gonna do to your career?
Well, it was an amazing experience. First off, it was, I loved every moment of it. We shot on and off for 10 months.
Oh wow!
10 months, and we actually wrapped after 4 months of shooting, and then they came back the next one saying, "Oh, we're changing the entire script, and we're only keeping the first 30 minutes," and we shot again for several months on and off. And what was beautiful about it, what was actually historic about it also, is that it's the first time all Latino cast is getting distributed by a major studio worldwide. Like, it's never happened to that capacity. And it revolves around Hector and Jesse, which like two best friends, and then the girl who plays my cousin, Gabrielle, who plays Marisol in the movie. And again, with this, what's beautiful about it is that it was very creative on all ends. I mean, in terms of like so much of my input is in the film. Where the director, he really built a relationship with us where he allowed that space where he's like, yeah, if you have any ideas. So it's not just, they had consultants on the culture because they're making, I mean, it's people that are not Hispanic are making a movie about Mexican American, specifically a Mexican American family. So they had consultants that are Latinos about the language, about the culture. Myself and the lady who played the grandma, Renee, okay, I just forgot Renee's last name. I love you, Renee. We were constantly saying like, oh, we should try this. We should try this. I wouldn't say this, or how about this? And they allowed for all that, which was a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Okay. Gracias, Jorge, por estar con nosotros. Thank you very
placer.
much.
Gracias so much.
The great actress and acting professor Stella Adler once said, "The actor has to develop his body. The actor has to work on his voice. But the most important the actor has to work on is his mind." Thanks for watching us, and see you next week on the indie scene.